In anticipation of the Fed's policy decisions that will be unveiled on November 3, traders are revising sentiment on the US dollar. The US Central Bank is widely expected to announce the timeline for tapering its bond purchases. This outcome will be a catalyst for the US dollar's rally. Apart from the Fed's policy meeting, the market is alert to a series of macroeconomic data which is due at the end of the week. Welcome to our channel. Let's discuss what reports and events are due in the coming days. On Thursday, October 28, the Bank of Japan and the ECB will state their policy updates as a wrap-up of their regular meetings. Market participants will give priority to the ECB rhetoric that will determine the trajectory of the euro-dollar pair. It goes without saying that the euro-dollar pair is the most traded currency pair in the forex market. The key interest rate is sure to be put on hold at a zero level, so traders will focus on any changes in the ECB rhetoric. Earlier, ECB policymakers advocated for withdrawal of monetary stimulus at a moderate pace. At present, market participants expect the European regulator to maintain the dovish rhetoric. At the same time, they are ready for some hints about gradual tapering monetary stimulus as well as a cautiously optimistic outlook for the EU economy. If such expectations come true, the euro will have an excuse to gain ground. Besides the ECB policy decisions, traders speculating on the euro-dollar pair will turn attention to preliminary inflation data for Germany. The fresh report could provide evidence that consumer inflation is still growing at a rapid pace. This will assure the ECB to introduce urgent changes in the current accommodative monetary policy. Consumer prices in Germany are projected to rise 0.4% in October. That will push an annual CPI rate to a fresh high. The annual CPI reading in September hit the strongest level since December 1993 in the largest EU economy. In the American session, traders will receive signals that will assure them to buy the US dollar. The weekly update on US unemployment claims will confirm a further downtrend. Remarkably, both the first-time jobless claims and continuing claims are projected to print lower figures. Nevertheless, the dollar bulls could be discouraged by flash data on the US gross domestic product. Analysts warn that the US economy lost momentum in the third quarter. The national economic output could have slowed down to 2.6% on quarter. As a result, market sentiment might turn sour and the US dollar may lose confidence. The greenback selling could escalate on Friday. On October 29, investors will take notice of the preliminary inflation data for the whole Eurozone. In light of the latest CPI for Germany, market participants are braced for information about a new inflation spike in 27 EU countries in October. The EU CPI is also projected to climb to multi-year highs. Investors hope that soaring consumer inflation will urge the ECB to shift towards hawkish rhetoric and eventually to take some countermeasures. The new evidence of overheating inflation and the conditions for raising the key interest rate will support the euro that will assert strength against the US dollar. During the late New York session, traders will get to know data on consumer spending in the United States. This is one of the key indicators to detect trends in consumer inflation and to determine rates of the US economic growth. Indeed, consumer spending accounts for almost two-thirds of the US whole gross domestic product. Experts predict a further rise in the report for September, albeit at a slower pace. Notably, personal spending is still expanding despite high inflation in consumer prices. All in all, such robust consumer activity creates proper conditions for a further recovery in the US economy, with this conclusion, the trading week will close on a positive note. And we will monitor the market reaction to the above-mentioned reports. Subscribe to our channel and follow changes in market sentiment with us. Any comments, questions and offers are welcomed. We wish you profitable trading and see you soon.